What's going on, everyone? We are live. Welcome back to the Unconventional Mindset. My name's Odum. It is Friday. Happy Friday, which is always a nice day. I don't know, just because it's Friday, the end of the work week, and then maybe it's because it's into the weekend where I feel like it's bonus time for me to do some extra work that not very many people are doing, because most people like to take the weekend off, right? Or whatever the case may be, which is fine. I got no problems with that. But I like to take the weekend. I feel like it's this time where I could get up, I don't know, I could just catch up on people that are ahead of me or whatever the case may be. Anyways, so what are we doing here? Every day, Monday through Friday, we live stream, we get together, and we work on our business as we're trying to build something that's going to generate us $1 million in revenue every single year. We're working towards that goal. We are 10% there. As you know, we made 100,000 last year. We're going for probably 250 next year, which we'll get into our goals at some point, I would imagine, between now and the New Year's. And speaking of goals, because it's Friday, I think it's a good time. It's not tradition, but maybe it should be some kind of tradition we should do, is kind of review our goals and where we're at with them. And of course, we have our Asana right here, which is what we use to track everything that we do here at the company, which of course is Pixel. And actually, I didn't say this, but if you're new here, what is it that we do? Pixel, of course, is a web design, web development company specializing in building Webflow sites for our clients, building and managing them. And we're also building Pixel Pieces, which is a Webflow component and template library, which we hope to unveil to the world at some point here before the end of the year. Anyways, so what are our goals? So there's a few goals that we put in here, and a couple of them, well, I know for sure we're not going to reach, just because they've been kind of put a little bit on hold in a sense, because there's a few things going on in my brain here in terms of where to move things forward with the unconventional mindset. Anyways, what do we have? Reach 2,500 in recurring revenue through Stripe. There's no change in that. So we're still at 350 recurring revenue through Stripe. We do have other recurring revenue for with other clients, but we want to do specifically with automation. But we're not there yet. So anyways, that's that one goal. Receive 25K in revenue for the end of the year. So no change in that. There's still a couple outstanding invoices. Actually, I shouldn't say there's no change. There's a small update. We just got a deposit today for $150. So let's update that to 9850. So I'll update that a little bit. Cool. Yeah, we still have an outstanding invoice, and I don't expect too much except for just some maintenance stuff to come in the rest of the year. So we're not gonna hit that unless something else comes up. But that's okay, because as we said many times, we're not really actively looking for new clients right now. We're trying to work on building our own products. And the 1,000 newsletter subscribers in the unconventional mindset, we're not pushing that right now because we're still trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do with that. And there's going to be some stuff coming down in the pipeline with that soon. But the big thing that we're working towards is reaching this monetization goal for this YouTube channel. Of course, it's not because I want to monetize or I want to put people with ads. I mean, I recommend you use, like I'm using Brave browser right now. I recommend everyone use whatever they can to block ads, because I hate ads and I don't think people should be subjected to them. But that's neither here nor there. That being said, because I've heard too what YouTube can do, and what they might do is they'll play ads on your video anyways, regardless of whether you say you want ads on your video. And so rather than them just making all the money, I might as well make a little bit of money that I could use to, make better videos or whatever the case may be, right? So anyways, that's just kind of a little goal that we have. And that means we need to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. Now, I did update this this morning, and we're at 252 subscribers this morning. I think we're actually at 255. So we've gained 3 today, which is super cool. It's always cool to see. And that was an increase, I do believe, from, where did that go? From 244 to 252. So that was 10 subscribers in a week, which is really cool. That's more than one a day, which is awesome. It's so cool. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate that support. And then to reach 4,000 watch hours and we are at 551. So we jumped up from 510. So that was 41 watch hours. That's going to be, I feel like it's going to be the hardest one to get to. But at the same time, I feel like we're slowly getting more watch hours as more and more people kind of find this channel and start watching the videos. I feel like that number is going to grow faster than the actual numbers of people that are subscribed. But anyways, we'll see. Those are the goals, and that's what we're working towards. And right, and that's that. And then the last thing that I wanted to take a look at, well, I mean, I have it here open in Asana. Because yesterday we kind of finalized and finished all the different component. Oh no, did I forget one? Did I forget a component? What were we supposed to do yesterday? Oh, the team and contact. I think we kind of finished that one. We'll have a look here. Anyways, I think I have most of the initial components that we want to have in our launch when we first launch. So I feel like today would be a good chance to kind of review where we are and see what all the components are and see all the little bugs and things that we need to fix and update. But I thought it would be a good idea to kind of take a look at this project that we have here for actually launching Pixel Pieces. So there's lots of little things that I made note of things that I know I need to do to actually launch Pixel Pieces. And when I say that, I mean this site right here, because this is the site that people are going to go to actually get access to the components, right? So that's what needs to get done. And this is our kind of the notes, like I said, that I've been doing. I got to start my comment section here. Let's get that going. Oh, that's not going to launch. Oh, did I screw that up? Or is that just going to take a long time to do? Hey, Kevin, I see your comment there. Howdy, howdy. Welcome to the stream. Happy Friday. Good to see you here. Oh, there it goes. Is that going to play? Hey, there we go. Comments are still working. I do need to fix these comments. I don't like it how they're white. The background is white, and it's a lot of the time my screen's on white. Anyways, improvements to the stream. Anyways, hope you're having a great day. All set for the weekend. And how's the website going? Have you plugging away on that, making some updates and making some and finishing the rest of the stuff? That's a cool project on. I'm like envious of you working on that project. That's a good one. Okay. So yeah, what do we need to do? The copy and paste the components. So that aspect needs to be taken care of. I have some ideas on what to do with that. Frequently asked questions. We need to kind of update those. Design the homepage app image. And that's this image right here. That needs to be updated because it is obviously a blank screen right now. Awesome. Yeah. The pop-up video in the hero section. Yeah. I think that's really going to make the homepage stand out and pop a lot more. So right on. Looking forward to seeing. You got to show me the final product, or I guess I could go to the site too when it's launched. But yeah, keep me posted. Looking forward to seeing that. What else do we need to do? We have some member stack that we need to do. We need to set the default avatar. These are pretty simple stuff. The blog section needs a little bit of work. We definitely need to figure out exactly what we're going to do with that blog section as well. Software for customer service, we're going to have to figure that out. Update the components and templates section on the actual brochure pages. That's these pages when you're not logged in, like the components page and the template page, which is pretty much the same kind of thing. And I'll go back to here. The pricing page, we need to actually make a pricing page. This is more of a development thing, how to update the number of items in a collection when we add a new component. So we're going to have to automate that process. Privacy and terms page, probably have to get a lawyer or just do up a generic one for now, because I don't want to pay a lawyer right now because they're expensive and a waste of money. It's something you have to have. It's like insurance. Main blog learning page design with animations for links and posts. Oh, right. Just design improvements. Nothing too crazy here. Yeah, I actually never thought about that. I guess OpenAI, I guess it would be the same kind of thing because our websites you can go that generate standard terms and conditions. So I guess OpenAI can generate that as well too. So yeah, I'll have a look at that. Thanks for the tip. Artificial intelligence. Yeah, it's like I don't know what to think. All right, and then components. So obviously we need to. This is kind of a little bit of our what is this called? A milestone. We have to actually finalize building all the components and create a list of all the video tutorials that we're going to make to help explain how to use all those components. And then the templates, create the Naked Flow theme that's in production. And there's another theme that I want to have done before we launch. I don't know if we're going to be able to considering the time, but I'll do my best. And that is a Naked membership theme. Why do I want to build a membership theme? Well, because I need to build a membership site for myself. So I might as well build one for everyone as well too. And hopefully we'll have some deep integrations with, so I'm definitely going to use some third-party integrations like with Airtable, Stripe, obviously, probably MemberStack. And I don't know how much of that stuff you can kind of copy. And I don't know how much you can make like maybe specific zaps or specific, what is it called with Make? I don't know what they call their interactions, but I don't know how much of those you can have made available to people. But anyways, we'll see how far we can go. Hey Nawaz, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. You're also in the process of constructing your portfolio website. Right on. That's awesome. So are you a designer, developer? I think you're more of the developer, right? From what I remember. But how's it going? And how's the work going? Hopefully you're ready to kick that career into high gear. And then the style guide. There's just going to be some updates to the style guide in terms of these are kind of like almost bug fixes that I found, but there's going to be, I need to go over probably the style guide again, clean it up, fix it up, and make sure it's ready for a good proper release. So actually I might just put that into as a actual what's it called, a milestone. Just like release like version 1. Style guide. Actually, instead of release, I'll just say prepare for of the style guide. Okay, assign that to me. I'm going to put a due date. That's by December, and we're just also going to make it a milestone. I think we do that up here. Mark as a milestone. Excellent. Hey, welcome Rolando. How you doing? Greetings. Welcome to the stream. Happy Friday. All right. Okay. So with that being said, let's take a look. So this is going to be a little bit, I'm going to be probably all over the place today because we're not working on a specific thing. So we're just going to go through things and kind of see all the things that need to be updated and things that I need to keep an eye out on. And there's also, I need to think about how best to actually, like where to keep the actual components. So I wonder when you're reviewing, like when we're going on to Pixel Pieces and when you see a navigation item, so the basic nav, and then you go to view and it's going to go to components / basic nav 1. So I guess the components are probably going to live in Pixel Pieces, like in that Webflow project, as opposed to being in its own project. I would imagine so. That's probably where I'm going to have to transfer all the components to, right? I think so. So I know what I'm meeting. I'm meeting with a friend of mine next week, and we've done lots of projects together. And we're going to talk about. I'm going to see if he's going to want to join and to help me, and he could probably handle all this back end stuff that I'm not really sure how it's going to work, because because it's not my forte. And rather than me spending all this kind of time trying to figure that out, if I could bring someone to help me out and then they can help me, whether, I just pay them or they become part of the team or whatever the case may be, it's just worth it. I'd rather just pay someone like $1,000 and figure it out for me, and then away we go. So that's probably how I'm going to solve that problem. Just throw money at it. But anyway, so let's go over. Oh, right. I know what I need to do with this navigation. So I think when I was doing these navigations, if you remember, I was having issues because I wasn't liking how the drop-down menu itself was working. And so in this nav bar menu, I actually created my own like mega drop-down container. And let's just see how it works. And I think that was the wrong way to go. I think that what we need to do for all the navigations, I think it's best if we use the built-in navigations within Webflow, because there are things that I think that it does better, and there are things that I didn't think that it was possible for it to do. Like give a full screen kind of thing here and have the custom animations towards it. And why I say that is because on a dropdown, let's go to actual dropdown. When you go here to a dropdown, and if you go to an interaction, you can actually have a menu or an interaction with dropdown opens. Oh, it's not here. I think it's right here. So you can actually trigger an interaction on the dropdown opens, which is the things that I thought were not possible. So the fact that this is here, I think makes me reconsider all of these dropdowns and redoing them with the actual dropdown element. And I think that's going to be the best way to move forward. And I think that's going to be the best for you guys that are going to be using these actual navigation elements. That's what I think is going to make the most sense, I think. So I'm going to take this weekend, I'm going to, whatever I figure out here that needs to be redone, I'm going to work on them over the weekend. And then I'll let you guys know kind of how things go on Monday. So, and what would be cool too, maybe what I'll do, if you guys are interested, let me know. If I can take like this project and just have it so that you can clone it. I don't know. Would that be of interest to you at this stage of the game? I mean, it's pretty early, but I'm thinking of having something made available like earlier, that obviously then when I first launch. Well, we did talk about this. I just need to figure out how to do that. So I think that'll be, I mean, if you guys want to use it, that's great. If not, then, that's cool too. So we definitely got to do that. Okay. Let's go back to here and let's go to components. So, use Webflow drop downs in all mega menus. And I think that's going to help a lot too with the responsiveness of the menu, as well as for individuals keeping track of how to change the navigation items as well within the menu, because everyone should be pretty familiar with how they work. So we'll get that done. Let's put that due date to Monday. Okay, so other than that, I think the menus look pretty good. Yeah, I think they look good. So we have our footer sections. There's some spacing issue to deal with. Actually, I could probably deal with this right now. Oh, right. These variables. Interesting. So we did this yesterday, didn't we? We did this social media links yesterday in the team page. So we should pretty much copy these styles, shouldn't we? So we have social media and social media link. What do we call it when we did our team page? Okay, we have team social, no text. Interesting. And team social link. Right. So the idea behind this, I guess, if you have this custom class, you know that it's part of the team. So if we go into, let's go into here for a second, and we go into folders, and then we go into team, then you could see everything. So then you could update, team, the social links, social no text, social icons, social handle. This is all the styles associated with the team component. So that's a question. Should all the components, or should all the classes within a component belong to that standalone component? And basically not try to reuse them across multiple components, which is more like what a style guide does, right? So maybe it makes sense to have them, to duplicate them, even though they're like pretty much the same. That's a question to think about. Should CSS classes be reused across components or have unique names within each? So an example of this would be social links in the footer, blog, team, etc. Okay, question to think about. Assign that one to me. Okay, where do we go? Where are we? My gut is telling me that it's good to keep everything separate, or like keep everything like within here. Like if this is named team social, then the one on the footer would be named like footer social. That's what my gut is telling me. And then that would be this almost the same thing for this form, where this form might be what am I thinking? Like footer subscribe form, as opposed to just regular form. I don't know. Because there's also issues with cutting and pasting as well too. So if it's the same kind of form, it's cut and paste onto a page that already has this form, it's going to rename all the classes as well. So those are things to think about. Definitely things to think about. Yeah, of course you can ask. What is the business model with the components? Because if it's by subscription, I think classes should be reusable. So the business model of what I'm thinking, actually I could probably show it because it'll be here. So I'm thinking that the component is, like the library, is going to be a one-time payment of whatever the price might be. So it's not going to be a month-to-month subscription, but it's going to be pay once, have access for life. And it'll have access to components and then access to the templates as well. Everyone does things right now by subscription, but I want to be different. I want to do something different. And because I hate subscription models, I don't want to subject that, even though I think it actually makes a lot of business sense. But I don't think it makes as much sense for a consumer in terms of costing a lot of money for the consumer in the long run. So, but you're saying if it's a subscription model, you think the classes should be reusable. I mean, I always want all my classes to be reusable. I mean, I think the way you're framing that question is, are the classes going to be reusable, like for me when I'm making other components? And if that's the case, yeah, if they're reusable, it's much easier to cut and paste one thing into another component that I'll be releasing. Footer 1, footer 2, footer 3. And again, here too, I do remember when I started doing these, started with the navigation, then started with the footer. The idea was to make a few different versions of footers because, those are things that people, obviously they're going to have on their websites. So having multiple different components makes sense. But again, how many of these are we going to end up having? I don't know. Because I think once we got to the blog section, that's when we kind of just said, okay, we're just going to do one for each. And this blog section, again, this would be the blog if you're the landing page or a component on like your home page, which displays the number of as many posts as you want. And then of course, click read more and goes into the actual blog page, which we haven't done and we're not going to do, I don't think, for the initial release. But again, this has everything that you would probably want in a blog. I think this looks good. I think what we need to consider is, let's say, consider reducing complexity of fonts by using black only. Or one color, one font color, I should say. Because I'm seeing this with the multiple different colors. I feel like there's just one other thing that could detract a little bit from the minimal style of each of these components. So our accordion, right, we have two different accordions. And right, this one is the one that works, but it's with the drop down. But the problem with this one is we have flexibility limits in how wide this thing needs to be. Basically, we have to set it and forget it. And then we also have options as well too when we go into a smaller screen. But maybe that's just something I need to work on and fix as we do mobile responsive work, which actually I do need to do. I should put that in there somewhere before I forget. And then, all right, accordion 2 is completely custom components, but we have an issue that once one thing is open, we cannot close it back. Ooh, right. And that actually, I don't want to put it here. We're using this thing, the browser. Use JavaScript to, no, that's spelled right. To close accordion on second click if already open. Okay, we're going to fix that. But then if we do fix that, then why? Oh, somebody might want to use it, of course, if somebody doesn't want to use JavaScript. Right, so we got to have both of them. I don't know what browsers are operating without JavaScript nowadays, but it's possible. Some people can disable it. All right. We have our hero section here. And I think what I actually want to do is I want to create another hero section that isn't with the main background image, but is just more of a traditional hero section with the text on the left and the image on the right, or whatever, vice versa. So we're going to build that. Maybe we'll work on that today after we kind of go through all these again. So build a new hero component that is more traditional. And I think I know what that means. Basically two column layout. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, they all use JS. I know some people, obviously, people can turn it off. But I mean, that's like so rare. Like who's surfing the internet without JavaScript enabled? You're not going to have a good experience at all. My first job out of university that was in the web design space was being a JavaScript developer. And oh man, that was brutal. That was the worst job I have ever had. Even worse than like working at Home Depot or, that was the worst job I ever had. Maybe we'll talk about it one day when we're just shooting the shit. Hey Kevin, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Using FS Suite's accessible accordion. Yeah. It's fantastic. And I think that one uses JavaScript as well, I think, to add in a few things into the HTML, I think. It's a fantastic product for sure. But the thing is, again, I guess if they're using JavaScript, then you're kind of your accordion's not going to work. But again, who's browsing without JavaScript? So yeah, that's really good. I love those guys. They're doing like amazing stuff too. And I think of the work that they're doing and other people, then it's like, well, why am I doing this? It's like other people already have cool stuff, but it's like, there's space for everyone. We can all kind of create our stuff and then put it out to the world and see what people like to use. But yeah, it's interesting especially when you're kind of thinking about business. When you see other people doing the same stuff, you're like, they're already doing such a great job. Why build something else? So, it's kind of that imposter syndrome that I think a lot of people have in business, including me. I definitely have that. Even though I've been doing this for over 15 years, it's still crazy. All right. So, right. Did I finish writing that down? Build component. Yeah. We're going to build the new hero component. So our newsletter form. So this is pretty good. I think what we can do is we can add a little bit of styling to the form here, into this checkbox area. But otherwise it's pretty good. First name. We might want to add, in fact, should we add? Yeah, I'm thinking if we should add a field for last name and how common people are going to use that. I think when people are making a subscription form to their newsletter, I think for the most part, they're not even going to collect last name and they might not even collect first name. So I think more people would delete the last name than they would kind of use it. So if the majority of people aren't going to need it, I don't think we want to put it in there. I don't think. Again, trying to think of that 80-20 rule. Right. Okay. So what we're going to do, I'm going to just style this thing. Okay. So should I do this right now? No, I'll go through everything, then we'll do some work. So components again, style the checkbox items in the, component. Is it called the newsletter component, or did we call it? Yeah, the newsletter form. Okay. Or the subscribe. All right. So we have our pricing table. I think this is pretty good, except we have issues with coloring, but we're going to think about that as well. Is there anything missing in this pricing table? We have the title. We have a little description. Ooh, you know what? Maybe we are missing something. To have one of those tags that are best option, right? Or, most popular, right? So we need to have that. So let's do that. Let's add this to the list. Okay, so add a most popular tag to pricing table. All right, so we'll do that. We should be able to do that today. I don't see why not. Testimonials. Oh, right. Testimonials. this is ugly. And okay, this is actually more of a whole like project wide thing is review and figure out how to use an icon library. So the first thing we need to look at is if we have to pay for anything, if our terms of service and the ones that we have purchased, that we can use them for like second party stuff. And then we need to figure out how they're going to be displayed, whether we're going to use them as embeds with HTML with SVG codes, or if we're going to use them as images. So we just need to figure out how that's going to play out. And right, and this one, just testimonials. Fix the quote icon image in testimonials. Yeah, that needs a whole lot of work. And then also for testimonials, should the text be, I have it in a paragraph text, but should it be in a quote? We might want to put everything into a quote itself. But then we're going to have to, so I think within the quote, then we're going to have to add that image, and we'll probably have to do it like as a background. Ooh, yeah, it's going to be tough. Because we don't have as much flexibility on this block quote as we would if we were to, if we were to be using straight HTML. Okay. So determine if it's more appropriate to use just quote element or P for testimonial text. Okay. Product review. I remember this vividly from just like yesterday or 2 days ago. So I think that one looks pretty good. Again, issues with the icons, but we'll think about that and figure out how to do that. Call to action. This is basically going to be what we're going to use for the actual hero section. So that's interesting. And maybe we'll duplicate that. And if we do duplicate this and put it into the hero section, then we do want to just keep it call to action and not like hero _ call to action. I don't know. I need to think about that. I need to think about how I would, I need to think of it from 2 points of view. Number one, how easy it's going to be to maintain all of these components and update them and all that stuff. But then also from the idea and from the perspective of a user, is how easy is it going to be for them to just use it? And I think from the user's perspective, whether it's called call to action or hero call to action, I don't think that actually matters, because they'll just be able to use it. Unless, again, there's issues with copying and pasting and having multiple, or having the same style, and then having to like rename the classes. But I don't know how common that's going to be if people are going to be copying and pasting components, because there's not many of these components that are using other components, if you know what I mean. All right. Then we have our team page. Yeah, this is still, I mean, yeah, it doesn't look the greatest, but I need to figure out how to make this look better. And I don't know if it's because it's the image or because of just how the typography is on here. This just looks horrible to me. But I don't know what to do. Because again, it's not That's not, I mean, it's not supposed to look like anything. It's just supposed to provide you with all the pieces you need to make your team page. But at the same time, I want all of these components, when you look at them, to be like, yes, this actually, yeah, it's not styled, but it still looks good. So the typography needs to be on point, and then the spacing, the white space, and the imagery needs to be on point as well too. Yeah, Kevin, that's like 100% on point with the thoughts of why, if I should be using paragraph versus quotes. So exactly, for screen readers or whatever the case may be, and however they're browsing the websites, HTML is 100% to make sure to get it correct for the intended use case. So I know for me, I just need to brush my memory on exactly when to use the quotes versus just regular paragraph text. But I think for quotes, it's probably best to use block quote to be most semantically correct. But anyways, yeah, thanks for that comment, because yeah, that's super, super important. Awesome. Well, so then that's correct then, right? For a like a testimonial, it's a quote, so that goes in a block quote then, which is correct. Which I'm pretty sure, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because what the hell is a quote for, other than to put quotes in? So right on. Right on. So question for you. Do you use Webflow? And like, yeah, I mean, do you use Webflow? And then the next question is, if you do, then it would be, how do you find Webflow with its elements and everything when you're building websites? How close do you find that it sticks to actually making everything accessible? Or do you feel that there's things that it does that is lacking? That'd be really interesting to know, especially someone that's like an expert at it. And now we have our contact form. So our standard contact form. All right. So yeah, there we go. You have 10 years experience in Webflow? That is crazy. Have they even been around for that long? That is crazy. That's awesome. So their basic accessibility is better than anything you've tried. Okay. Yeah, like in terms of, you're talking about like Framer and all those other frameworks or whatever. Well, that's great. That's really good to know. Solidifies my choice of going to Webflow, because I started Webflow 2019, I believe, 2019 or 2020. And then slowly, well, not slowly, I just fell in love with it like right away, and just started transitioning to everything that I do for clients is in Webflow. Like, goodbye WordPress and hello Webflow. All right. So, okay. So this contact form, yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard. I think that looks good. So we definitely need to kind of have to figure out how to display this on our actual library, and how to take nice images of these things when they're on here, when people are looking through everything. How are we going to do that? Problem for another day. Okay, so let's start fixing some stuff. A few of these things here. We're going to look at our pricing table. Before, hang on a second. Sorry, I lied. Let's take a look at our style guide here first before we get into fixing anything. Just to see if there's anything that we're missing and anything else that we need to add. Okay, first things first, style guide. I know what I need to do. Let's collapse these things. Okay, so style guide. Whoops. Fix the design, or not fix, I guess. Update the design for the navigation menu. I have a few ideas of what I want to do with it, but I don't like it the way it is right now, and we'll fix it. Okay, so we have the headings, native elements, structures, and again, this is mostly just client first. And there was something that I want to maybe ask you guys, see what you guys think about changing something from client first, or I should say maybe just adding, because I'm just adding stuff. So we got our paddings. So it's basically has to do with, oh, these are structures. You have to do the padding, which goes down to the, okay, and let me wait till I get there, and then we'll talk about it. Yeah, forms are good. Rich text. Right. No, everything's looking good there. The heading styles, yeah, that's fine. Buttons are good. Text classes. Yep, that's good. Text weights. Text alignments. Colors. Right, and these colors are in the variables panel. And yeah, so this why the style guide is going to need to be. Obviously, when you copy a project and you clone a project, you should be able to clone the variables. Because obviously when you cut and paste a component, the variables just go away. Those don't get copied, which is really, it's too bad. But with a project, obviously they come along for the ride, which is nice. And we have all our colors. Text color primary light, dark. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and we're gonna have to see, because client first doesn't have this. We'll have to see if people are going to use this and what they think of the colors, and if they prefer, color blue, red, whatever, or color 1, 2, 3, 4, and just have a list as opposed to primary, secondary, and accent. Everyone has their own ways of kind of how they want to structure their color palettes. Okay, padding. So, right. So the problem that I have with padding, I guess it's not so much of a problem, but I find it very tedious when I want to add a padding to something. So for example, like I'm right here. So say this class, say it didn't have its own class, and I just wanted to, say I just want to throw a padding on it. It's got a margin, but let's assume it doesn't have one here. And I just wanted to do, I didn't want to put the margin in here for whatever reason. I just want to use my generic classes or from the style guide. And I'd say I have to go margin. I think it's you got to go margin, direction, margin bottom. And then I would have to put margin and the size of it, right? So then medium, right? So then I get my two REM padding or margin. So I totally get it, and it totally 100% makes sense to me. But what I do, and what I used to do, and what I do when I was doing my own CSS stuff, writing stuff by hand or whatever, I would go, instead of doing margin bottom, then margin bottom size, just having margin, margin bottom, and then a number, and then just have 2. And so it's a margin on the bottom and 2. And of course 2, because we always deal with relative units, we do 2 REM. And so within the style guide, you would have, we're at margins, let's talk about margins. We'd have margin bottom, 1, 2, 3, all the way, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 10, 12, whatever it is that you would want. But then you would have to then you'd have to duplicate it. Then you have to duplicate it for margin left, margin top, and then margin bottom, right? So you'd have to have 4 of those different instances for each of them. And then of course, if you wanted to do the combo classes where you want the margin left and right, then you'd either have to combo that again or do like a margin left, right, 2, margin left, right, 3, and so on and so forth. So Kevin, you think it was meant to reduce the number of classes related to padding and margin. So I think so too, because like I'm just talking and thinking about it right now. If we were to do that, there'd be so many different versions. But the thing as well that I find is in the style guide, in the client first. Let's go to client first here for a second. So they talk a lot about concepts of, where's their concepts? Basically, they talk about stacking, right? Like class stacking. Where is it? The class, their strategy. I think it's, example. Like deep stack. Okay, that's what they talk about. So, right, this kind of stuff. So what I found when I was working with Client First, and then I wanted to put, I want to add a margin to the bottom. And then you have to put 2 classes. And then the second you want to add anything else, you're immediately like deep stacking. And then you're getting to now you're at 3, which is kind of like already at the warning zone of having too many classes associated with your element. And then it's like, if I have to do that every single time. So if it's just for spacing, then you have to add 2 classes like immediately. And then you're like, that's it. So then the purpose of that thing that you're putting that spacing on, like it has no it's almost like a functional spacing element because it can't have anything else associated with it, whether it's text or anything else. So that's where I found it limiting, and I found that a little bit frustrating. And Rolando, that's exactly how, like when I write CSS, that's exactly what I have. I use margin top and then the value. So that makes a lot of sense to me. So here's another sample. So you've been normalizing the wrapper on headings or headings plus subheadings, then using the variables panel to store all the margins and paddings. It's a slow start. Yeah. So I'm definitely using the variables to store the paddings and margins, which is a super, super helpful. But just a question, like, no, headings or subheadings. So when you say normalizing, so that means you're basically being consistent across all of your headings and subheadings, and then you just add whatever spacing as a variable to those headings or to whatever is wrapping those headings, and then just use it with that. Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Intro left, intro center. The question I have for you is, I remember when I was doing things by hand, like coding things by hand. I mean, this is, I guess it's more of a visual stuff, but I'm just so old school. I just love coding HTML by hand. Anyways, when you're using things like, intro left, intro center, if you want to make any design changes, and so that left hand now moves on to the right, then your CSS class naming gets a little bit like there could be potentially some issues with that, right? So it's always something that I've always struggled with when you want to name something. It's just like that's named top right, and then it's like, well, what if that changes in the future? Then you kind of have issues sometimes with how things are named. But yeah, so it's like basically like everyone has kind of their own ways of how they want to keep their paddings and margins like under control. Like in their project. And it's a difficult thing to do. There's no easy answer. So I'm considering in the style guide of adding in like at least top and bottom. Left and right is not done so much in terms of like padding and having lots of different flexibility with different margins and paddings on your left and right. But like top and bottom, I feel like maybe adding it in just to have it in. And again, if people don't use it, then they don't use it. I don't think having those extra CSS classes in a document is not going to add anything to like the loading time. Right. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It just is reversed or is stacked or whatever the case may be. Yeah. I love your use of the double the double, what are they, dashes? The double dashes for like modifiers. Yeah, reminds me of the old school CSS days, which I miss. Maybe what we should do for fun. No, sorry. I'm going totally off rails and thinking of we should make like a ghost theme. No, we're not gonna go there. We're gonna stick with this for a while and and build this up. Okay. Anyway, so where were we? Right. We're thinking about. Okay, let's write this down. Consider adding default one class or single class top bottom margins margins. All right, we'll consider it and we'll see what happens. I think there's going to be a lot of fascinating things that are going to happen to client first once they start integrating variables. And of course, if Webflow also improves the functionality of variables, I think it's going to make it a whole lot more powerful. So I'm looking forward to that. So we were at color. We're looking at padding. Oh, I think that's pretty much it. So Rolando. So what I'm doing is defining the values first and then creating the variables. For example, in padding, I use extra small, medium, large. Yeah. That's how you achieve consistency. Defining the values and creating the variables. So when you say defining the values, you mean you're defining extra small as in that's going to be, half a pixel or whatever. We'll just use pixels. Extra small is going to be 5 pixels. Medium is going to be 15 pixels, etc. And then the question then, however, is if you're using those variables, are you transporting those same variables from project to project? Like, are you consistent between projects, or are you just talking about even consistency between the individual project? Because then I guess you can have, I see your comment coming in like 100 times here. What is wrong with my stupid thing? Oh, I'm not sure. Anyways, but yeah, is it more consistency between individual projects or just within the project itself? Yeah, okay. So you use adaptive values. Yeah. And that's what's so great is if you create the framework and then when you go on to a different project, you can just update the variables. So it's really nice. Yeah. Yes. And you transfer them from project to project. Cool. Right on. So you like my numbered REM system? Cool. What? So you're gonna steal that? Yeah, absolutely steal it. But what do you mean numbered? Like padding like 1 or padding 2 or padding 3? Is that what you mean when I do that? Or do you mean something else? Right. Instead of small, medium. Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny because I was doing the client first and I was, I think it was Kevin. Sorry, the other Kevin. There's 2 Kevins in the stream. He was saying, use client first. I'm like, okay. So I looked at all the different, what is it called? Structures or whatever for CSS naming for Webflow. And this one was, seemed the best. And the one thing that I was always having a hard time with was the extra large, small, medium, large, because you don't really know what they are. Like, what is small? Like, is small 1 pixel? Is it 10 pixels? Is it 20? So I have it now as small, medium, large. But I might change that. I might change that to the actual number instead of that because, you just don't know. I just need to know. But I guess it's cool too because if you're looking at the variables, I have it here. So get rid of that. Because I guess you have it here in terms of your sizing. It's like, I could just change it here, but it's still, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan. So anyways, we'll have it both ways and then we'll see how things go. I don't know. So I don't want to deviate too much from client first, but I mean, I already have. So, I mean, that's the beauty of when you fork over somebody's code, right? Or you just use GitHub or whatever. You just change it up and do it whatever makes sense for you. So padding, for example, use values like 0.1. Okay. Interesting. I've never tried that. Interesting. Between more devices easily. Very interesting. So I wonder, do you have any issues if you're using that type of technique? So yeah, you might have more consistency between devices, but are you still having consistency between, I guess you're still gonna have consistency between the actual elements themselves. Because for me, definitely being from design background, like things need to look like pixel perfect. Like everything has to be pixel perfect. But I guess too, if everything is relative to each other, then I think you're going to be good no matter which way you choose. So yeah, margins. Yeah. So I like the spacer. The spacer utility class, I've used that a few times. So that one's pretty good. But again, I'm not the biggest fan of putting divs in there just to throw spacers, because I'd like to throw them on an actual element. Like for example, can I give an example real quick? Like just right here as an example for this, if I want this to have a spacing, like I just want to throw it here. Like I'll just do margin bottom 5 or whatever. And then that's going to be consistent. And then I'll know just by looking what the margin is. And I could update it as needed. As opposed to adding a spacer in the HTML, then I got to go find the spacer, and then the spacer is its own. It's just I don't know. It's not as efficient. Again, I totally understand why. It totally makes sense, but I don't know. Sometimes you just got to break form, spread your own wings, and fly your own way. All right, so where are we looking at? Okay, not here. We need to go back to the style guide, back to here. Okay. Utility classes. I was thinking the other day if it makes sense to have a utility class for Flex, but I feel like I don't think that that's really necessary. Because chances are you're just going to want to take whatever element you have or whatever div tag or whatever it is you're working with and just apply that Flex styling to that item. So for example, when I was working on pricing here, instead of having, like if it was, let's just assume this was a Flex, instead of putting like a class of Flex, I would just have it right here, pricing, and I just make it Flex. So I don't think that really makes much sense on having that utility class. And I think they're on point with pretty much everything. I don't think there's anything else I need to add to utility classes. So with the style guide, yeah, the margins, the navigation itself. Right. Actually, I want to do maybe just not prepare, finalize version 1 of the style guide, because then we're gonna have to use that to cut and paste it into all of our different. In fact, let's not put this for December 31st. We want to get this done much earlier. In fact, let's get this done. Today's the 1st. Oh my goodness. We got 31 days left of December. Oh, it's crazy, guys. Okay, let's put this to the 8th. Let's do this next week. Let's have it done. Because then we're going to have to copy the final, at least the final version. Oh, wait. to add a, okay, no, that's going to be for everything. Okay, hang on. Let me get my thoughts straight here. Copy final style guide to pixel pieces final site, whatever that's going to be. Don't do that. Tab M, assign to me. Final site is for when we figure out exactly where we need to host all the components for people to be able to cut, paste them, and view them. You're gonna need that. That's gonna be super important. Okay, and one thing I was thinking about, shit, what was I thinking about? Oh no. Oh, right, okay. One thing I've noticed that's going to be very difficult to figure out is how to keep the style guide up to date. So for example, well, I don't really know how to say this. So if I have the style guide here and I make updates to the style guide, say like, oh, I want to change whatever this style for text or whatever the case may be, then if this style guide has been added to another project, like say it's been added to this project, which it has been because the style guide is here. When I update it here, I need to update the style guide on here as well. And as far as I know, there's no easy way to just cut and paste an entire project into a new one without overriding everything, right? Because it's going to see like, oh, you have duplicate classes. I have to rename everything like style guide 2 or whatever. So how to keep all the style guides that I have and that I'm using like up to date and in sync? I don't know how to do that. No, it's not that it doesn't allow dynamic content, but it's just not going to allow me to just to transfer. Like, I guess what I mean by dynamic in the sense that if I update one project, it's not going to take that same information, obviously, and update another project. Unless there was some way, if everything was in a database. If everything's in a database. Wait, can we even keep all that stuff in the database? We can't keep that stuff. We can't keep that stuff in the database. Great idea for an app or an extension. Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. Because the whole idea, the thing that I would say is for when people are using pixel pieces, it'd be like the first thing you want to do is you just want to copy the style guide. So you have the style guide, you have your framework. Whether you use it or not, or you're not, it's just going to be there, right? Or it should be there. But then when I update it, it should update for everybody. Do you know what I mean? Or like if I update it, I don't want to have to go to you or whoever's using it, say like, hey, you need to download the latest version of the style guide. Oh, by the way, you have to delete it. You have to make sure your classes aren't going to change and all kinds of hassle. Like that's insane. That's no one's going to do that. Right. There's got to be a way to do that. It's almost like, well, I don't know if you can. It's almost like you have to pull the next change up from like the repo, like if it's in GitHub or something like that. But the individual user has to trigger that pull and like, hey, update my extension. And that extension is going to bring in the new stuff. Yeah, there's got to be a way to do this. I'm going to talk to my buddy, my developer buddy, and see if we can get to work on something like that because it needs to get done. Right. So Webflow allows the use of custom content types. So you have to refresh my memory on custom content types for WordPress. But the thing with WordPress is you have basically unlimited control because you have access to the source code, right? Where Webflow, you don't. Yeah, so you can put different things in there and then those things would come up. So can you do this in Webflow? I think you can do stuff that's very similar to this, but you're just gonna be using like the collection, and you're just gonna have your dynamic information generated that way on the page, and that'll come up on the page. So, so custom content types are independent databases for each type of content you can put on the web. Yeah, I think you would definitely you'd have to do some kind of trickery, not trickery. Or maybe trickery. This could be out of my element, so I might not know if if Webflow can do this. How would you do this? The thing about the databases, you'd probably have to have a combination of make a collection inside of Webflow for what you want to do. And then you might have to use some type of extension in FN Suite to be able to access those different types of collections on the pages that you want to update that information. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you can do that. Yeah, I just need to think about a use case for what exactly it is that you want to put on a page. I'm pretty sure you could just do that with collections and then some, like conditions on whether that specific thing is shown or not, depending on what page you're on, right? So, sounds like the DevLink product they have made for React components for enterprise only. Interesting. I don't know anything about that. I wouldn't know. I do know that a lot of people love React, and I hear good things. I've used it in terms of I worked on projects with people that were using it, but I myself don't know much about it, except that everyone that uses it loves it. Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, I gotta write this down before I forget. So, this is going to be investigate the development of an extension that can push updates to a project. Oh my goodness. Not so much of a project. Oh my goodness. How are we going to do that? I have no idea. Let's just write it out and then figure it out later. Investigate the development of extension that can push updates from one project. I guess you're not pushing from one to another. You're just looking at the difference between your project and this one that's static, at least in terms of whatever the project number is or whatever the hell the ID is for that specific thing. And then you look at all the different classes and then you see what's been changed or whatever, and then you just take the delta. Okay, investigate the development of extension that can push, not push, pull updates from a project. I think that's probably the best way to think about it. And that we're going to find out on Tuesday afternoon. Actually, I don't know if I'll find out by then. Let's go by Friday. See if we can figure that out by Friday. See, number one, if it can be done. Of course it can be done. Anything can be done, right? We can do anything with computers, right? It's just a question of how much money it's going to cost, how much time it's going to take. No limitations to what we can accomplish. That's crazy. Just thinking, I was talking with my kids the other day just about like AI and the stuff that it can do, and it's just like, What the hell's going on? This is so crazy. It's so crazy. Okay, what are we doing here? Use CCT cards or 4 cards on the front end. You create one with the field's name, position, social links, right? Oh, it's interesting. It helps with loading speed. Yeah, and anything you do to help WordPress load faster is awesome. Oh, that's pretty cool. What do you use for hosting? Like, do you use WordPress Engine or Flywheel or anything like that? Or like Kinsta? those dedicated WordPress only hosting. That I think what they do, they keep like WordPress, like the core, like updated for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And then they supposedly help quite a bit with that kind of stuff. With what the hell, like loading speeds? What's that called? Loading speed. What is it called when? Performance. It helps with performance. Jesus. Yeah, I'm curious to know. Yeah, where you host your stuff, because that stuff's actually pretty expensive. Like hosting stuff with WordPress Engine, it's like $30 US a month. That's even more expensive than Webflow. Or maybe using like just spinning up your own servers with Amazon or something like that. Oh yeah, good old HostGator. Yeah. No, they're pretty cheap, which is nice. Yeah, they're great tools. If you know that your site is not going to have like tens of thousands and whatever of visitors, then like those shared hosting platforms are pretty slick. So I guess you're using cPanel, I guess, in HostGator. I think that's what they use, which is pretty cool. I'm going in there, tinkering around a little bit. I used to use Media Temple back in the day before they were bought out by what the hell? Who were they bought out by? GoDaddy. Then there was another company called HostPapa. Lots of companies. Yeah, cPanel. Cool. Right on. Okay, so was there anything else? Oh, right. So investigate the development of an extension. But in the meantime, before that's being built, we need to have a way to keep track of changes that we make in the style guide. So we're just going to create a change log, I guess. And it'll just be a standard page within Styleguide to track changes. Well, obviously to track changes, that's what a change log is. I don't need to really spell that out, do I? So at least for now, when I create this thing, let's get that done by Monday. Then I'll know if a style guide is up to date on whatever project or not. Because I'll just have like version 1.01, whatever, and just list of all the different changes, pretty simple. So actually, maybe what I can put in here, we'll put in what we want to track. We'll just say things to track. Just like a version number, I guess. The date. The number of updates, and list of each change. Not list, but like a description. Probably like just in bullet form, something simple. And maybe title of like update. Actually, you know what? We'll throw that here. Title and version number. So like example could be, what could be an example? Version 1.0 like 1. Like bug fixes. Maybe have the date. December December 2nd, 2023. One change. And then updated margin padding from 2 to 3. I don't know. This is just ridiculous. But so this would be just small, like, I don't know. That's a performance update. I don't know. Whatever. I think we get the gist. I hope. All right. Let's make this a little nicer. Okay. All right. Let's put this up at the top. Actually, I could just filter by due date. Oh, but if I filter by date, it also doesn't, it changes everything and it mixes everything up. It doesn't put them in their actual headings. That's the one thing that's weird about Asana. Gotta figure that out. Anyways. December 8th. Yeah, you can go up as well. Okay. Shit, I got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. I think we'll do... oh, excuse me. I did not bring a glass of water. That's like the stupidest thing. I know I talk for like the whole time and I have no water. I think what we'll do real quick is we'll just do a very quick amount of work here. I mean, I guess we've been working the whole time, but not real work. This is like actual progress here. We'll make this little pricing update thing change. And what do we want to do? Right. We want to do a... what's it called? What did I call it again? Like a most popular tag. So we'll throw this in here. We'll just call this pricing and we'll call it most popular. Or should I just call it, let's call it popular. Let's try to cut down a little bit on our text if we can. Pricing popular, and then we're going to throw in a text in there. And I'm just going to call this most popular. And so if we're going to have this tag, we're probably going to want to position it absolutely. So, I mean, yeah, everyone's going to want to do things differently, but yeah, I think so. Let's see what this looks like, and then you guys can tell me if you think this works or not. But if we're going to display that absolutely, then we position this relative for its parent, and then we absolute position this. And so we can just throw it to the top right corner, and maybe for stylistic points, we can put it offset just a little bit, minus 0.05, because usually people like to see this stick out a little bit. And let's use our accent color, which again, there's no point in really doing this with a component because you can't actually copy and paste variables. Oops, not on the actual text. We want it on the background. Background color. Accent. And let's give a little bit of padding to this. Again, let's skip with using our variables. And 0.75. 0.75. There we go. And maybe with the text, we'll put a class on the text too and update the text there, as opposed to targeting it with the in the div. So let's just throw this. Let's just make it bold. Again, you could just use the client first, text style bold or whatever, or text style 700. I can't remember what it is. But people might want to do this. They might want to change this themselves. So we might as well just give them the class right off the bat. And especially if they don't want it bold, then they'll have to like undo the class and just come up with another class name for themselves. So let's just try to make it as easy as possible for them. Okay, I mean, that's super simple. I don't think there's anything else we need to do. Because people, again, they're going to style it themselves. I think that works. Let's... So now, these sort of spacers driving me a little nuts. Okay. Yeah, I don't like using these things. I definitely do not like using these things. Okay. All right. That's good. I think that works. So we can chalk off one thing off of our list. Where is that? Add a most popular. Always feel good to check off items from our to-do list. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff to do. This weekend is going to be really busy. And I also have updates I have to make to the studio because it might not look like it, but this place is a little bit of a mess. And I'm in transition and I'm trying to figure out exactly what to do with the studio and how I want to put it and if I'm going to make a podcast studio. There's all kinds of stuff I got to figure out. But anyways, that's for me to figure out and that's not for you to worry about at all. All right, so I'm rambling again, which means time for me to call it a day. I actually need to get some water. I'm like dying here. So I don't want to be coughing up in your face and your ears. So thank you guys so much for joining and for the conversations. Really, really appreciate that. Great to have all of you guys here. And have a great weekend. Enjoy the weekend. Get some work done if you're working, if you're building on something. And if not, then relax. Spend some time with the families, friends, whatever. Enjoy life. As far as we know, we only get one. And I will see you back here for another live stream on Monday. Thanks again. Have a good one. We'll see you then.